Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. The dishwasher's going, so I really hope you can't hear that. And Hudson is trying to settle down for a nap. I don't know if he's going to or not, but he's in his room watching a movie, so we'll see. There might be some noises. I'm drinking some third trimester tea. I think it's red raspberry leaf. I'm out of breath already. I haven't even said more than like 10 words. Oh man, being pregnant after a stillbirth is just really different. Like, you're anxious. I mean, everybody's anxious when they're pregnant, but especially like the first trimester, you're always, scared you're gonna miscarry. And then you kind of get out of that and you're like, okay, I'm like pretty much in the clear. For me, the first time, I pretty much thought like, I didn't think you could lose a baby without having like labor signs and all that stuff, And so, and I was pretty young. Still am pretty young, but sorry. Anyways, the worry is forever long after you have a stillbirth. No matter when you had it, you're terrified you're gonna lose your baby again. I'm almost 33 weeks now, and I've hit the point where I literally I'm like, get the baby out of me, she's still alive, get her out of me while she's alive, and that way she can live. And I hit that same stage with Hudson at this point in pregnancy where I was like, my baby's alive, just get him out of me while he's alive, because I know with technology like what it is right now, he could survive. And it's really hard, but I'm going to talk about more of like, I guess, ways that I cope with the anxiety of it. I'm gonna say right now I am no master at this, and like last night I was just crying because I just want my baby girl here. And pregnancy is so scary after a loss. One of the first things that happened with Hudson was I was really anxious from the beginning, but I would have panic attacks, like full on can't breathe, shaking, crying panic attacks. Because I was so scared of I wanted him and I wanted to be pregnant again, but I didn't know how to handle the fear, and the fear ate me alive all the time. And the doctors were going to give me anxiety medicine for it, but when I read about the anxiety medicine in pregnancy, it wasn't completely for sure safe. It was a class C, I believe. And so I didn't want to take them. So I decided instead that I was going to do counseling. Wasn't too sure what counseling was going to do because, I had gone to counseling before for other things, but I just didn't think that it was going to help me with this one. But I decided that maybe just talking it out would be, to somebody unfiltered, would kind of at least help me not panic and build up that fear and then, have a breakdown. And so I did go to counseling, and I'm going to say that it was tremendously helpful in the sense that she really helped me associate that every pregnancy was different. The outcome of one pregnancy does not predict the outcome of another. Things that happen during one pregnancy aren't necessarily going to happen during another. And that I had to treat this pregnancy Hudson's pregnancy like it was its own. And I've taken that into this one. This is, I had to from the beginning after, getting pregnant after 2 miscarriages. I was again terrified, but I was terrified of miscarrying at the beginning too. And I had to really carry that on how I was going to, I had to look at it. Different scenario, different baby, different body chemistries. Everything is just different with every single pregnancy. So she really taught me about that. And then she did a lot of these weird eyeball tap disassociation things. I honestly don't know if they helped or not. They were kind of cool. But she did that, and it just helped me talk a lot. I had my sister to talk to when I was pregnant, and I did a lot. My fears were all the time I was texting her, 2 a.m., I can't sleep because I'm so scared, and things like that. And I kind of felt bad that, I was weighing so much on her, because it's not like there was anything she could do, you know what I mean? And so the counseling kind of helped separate that. And I will say, you know, you're probably like, well, what about Skylar? What about talking to Skylar? And it's kind of like men and women and each individual person really grieve differently. And so when we grieved Jaden, we grieved him differently. I grieved him completely different than Skylar did. Things were just, it was just different. And you know, that did create some conflict. I mean, I'll say that, like, there was a lot of conflict when it came to grief. And so when it came to my fear and being pregnant again, we both had our ways of dealing with our fear, and just like grief, we did those two things differently. Skylar doesn't worry like I do, which in all reality really like helps me in life. But with my fear of losing Hudson, we couldn't communicate about it, basically. Like, we couldn't get on the same page, and it was frustrating, but at the same time, it makes sense to me. I later went to a birthing class, and the instructor herself had actually had a stillbirth and then had gone on to have one successful pregnancy. And I talked to her one day about it. I was like, because she was asking, and I was just like, you know, he didn't really want to buy stuff. He didn't want to prepare as much and things like that, where I was still trying to be, you know, motherly. I was still trying to prepare for this child that was coming. But again, fear, I was kind of scared too, and he just didn't want to. And she said her husband was kind of the same way, that they actually didn't buy a single thing for their baby until their baby was born, because it was just the fear. And so, you know, if you're in a relationship and your fear of this, you know, that you're fearful during your pregnancy, make sure you step back and recognize that your partner may be different about how they're going to, I guess, show that fear. They're going to be different in their worries. They're going to be different in the way they handle it. Skylar's a very carefree person. He didn't, I really don't think he was that worried when it came to Hudson. Of course he was fearful, and again, wouldn't let me buy anything and stuff like that. And it was hard for both of us to actually believe that we were going to have a baby. And so, especially because that, you know, Jaden was our first child, so then this was our second, or going to be the first baby we get to take home. And so that was just kind of, you make sure you recognize that. And that was part of why counseling helped, was too, because I couldn't talk to him the way that I needed to mentally get stuff out. And that is okay, because in relationships, you can't, you're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, you have different outlets for different things, I suppose. And so I just needed a different outlet for that. And the counseling, again, it helped clear my head. I would always come home feeling just a little bit lighter, like, okay, I can do this, I can do this. She also taught me a lot of breathing techniques to do, and those really helped, like, when I got really anxious, and helped with like the panic attack side of it. So then the other thing that really, when it comes to nerves and the anxiety of being pregnant again, is do not be afraid to call your doctor. I called my doctor. I still do this pregnancy because I am a little less fearful as I was with Hudson, but I'm still extremely fearful. Like, I still wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, she hasn't moved. I got up to pee and she's not moving, and I'll poke her until she does, basically. Or I'll get up and get like a juice or something that's gonna activate her to want to move. That's a weird way to word that, sorry. But I called my doctor a lot with Hudson. I called at every sign of little bit of cramps. I called at, my blood pressure is normally really low. If my blood pressure went up even the smidge bit, I mean, not even to like a worrisome rate, but just a little bit, I went into labor and delivery, and I'd have him watch me on the weekend just for a little bit, make sure that his movements and everything were up to their par. And I called a lot. And the nurses were all very sweet and very kind about this. They knew and they understood that I was worried, and they were very good about it. And I would like to feel that most nurses would be. You never know though. Like, my nurses are a lot nicer they were kind of nicer last time than they were this time, but they're pretty understanding. In labor and delivery, they'd much rather have you call 1,000 times over nothing than not call when it is something. So make sure you use your doctor and you use your nurses, and if you need to, labor and delivery as your comfort. Like, I can remember several times I was like, I just don't feel like he's moving up to par. Like, I just don't know. And I would go to my doctor, and they would do a non-stress test, and I did one the other day for me, and we got on the same page with those. The doctor's like, it's easy to hook you up to this, it's easy just to do it, and watch and make sure. So make sure you use those resources. If you want to call, freaking call. Like, just do it. Don't be afraid. I still get afraid, like, they're gonna think I'm stupid, or it's gonna be nothing. But you never know. If it is something, you're gonna be glad you did call. So make sure you call or get seen if you are worried at all. Let me think. The other part of everything with the anxiety is I really did psycho watch. I lost Jaden to preeclampsia, but he kind of died before I had any symptoms of it that were red flag symptoms before the doctors could notice anything, and so with Hudson and this pregnancy, not as much as pregnancy, but with Hudson, I psycho watched his movements from the day he started kicking till he came out. I watched his movements like crazy, and I watched my blood pressure like crazy. I watched my blood pressure I took it at least twice a day. If not, sometimes if I got really anxiety feeling, or if I had any weird feelings, I would take it again. So I see my blood pressure a lot, but I did kick counts all the time. He's probably annoyed when he was in there because I was poking him to make sure he's okay. But I was always making sure, and kick counts are really the safest thing that you can do at home to watch your child. There is different controversies and different attitudes about how you're supposed to do them. Personally, I believe in the way of, same-ish time every day. If you eat or drink, all of that jazz is pretty normal. But I do believe that if you see a reduction in movement, I think they say 50% reduction, then if your baby moves 40 times in 1 hour, and then all of a sudden is only moving 6, that would be worrisome to me enough to call. Not all doctors agree with that. It's kind of a newer attitude about it, but I do think that is the proper way to go about it, and that is how I do it myself. Again, some people just look for 10 movements in 2 hours, some people look for 10 movements in 1 hour, some people just look for 6 movements in 1 hour. So it's really whatever you and your doctor have come up with as a comfortable kick count. But I do believe in the 50% reduction. I will say, no matter what, your baby does not start moving less. Everybody was telling me when I hit 28 weeks that's when I noticed he wasn't kicking really at all. And I was like, everyone's like, oh, they rotate and they start kicking less. No, that's not a thing. They still kick as much. The movements just aren't as abrupt. They become more of rolls and stuff like that. So you do have to be conscious of that their movements are going to alter, but the amount of movements shouldn't alter. So I hope that makes sense. I've psycho researched it. And that is one thing that I will say, the anxiety of being pregnant, I psycho researched everything. The second I lost Jaden, I psycho researched everything. And so for these pregnancies, I still psycho research everything. And you have to be aware when it comes to your anxiety that you're gonna read bad stories. Bad things happen. You have been a bad thing, that you've had that bad thing happen to you. And when you go searching on the internet, you are going to find more of those bad things. But you are also going to find lots of really reassuring good things. So depending on how you feel, I warrant be careful about how you Google and how you're going to take stuff, because most of the time when people go Googling for medical stuff, which is pregnancy, you kind of go searching for the worst, I feel like, and your brain kind of clings to those bad stories rather than the 100 people that just said, oh, like mine turned out fine, it turned out fine, I just did this. So just be careful. I don't know if those tips were very helpful. I would find your best relaxation technique. Sometimes writing would help with me. It helped a lot in a lot with my fear and grief with writing, and so I did that. But I will say that you're gonna be afraid. It's not gonna go away. You just have to find ways to make it so you can function normally and keep healthy for your child that you are now carrying. They feel stress, they feel all of that, and so it's good to try to stay as calm as you can. I've never tried yoga because I suck at life, but I have heard lots of really good things about like pregnancy yoga and like their meditations and all of that stuff, so that could be a really good relaxation way to calm down. Mostly, yeah, just relax. Remember that every pregnancy is different, and just be aware of your body, be aware of your symptoms, and do not be afraid to ask for help or to call for help because you are questioning something. If you question it, call. It's worth it. So I really hope that kind of, it's a lot to talk about and it's a lot to say, but it's just kind of, it's different, and I'm sure every person's going to be different, so that's kind of my own experience with it. I'm really sorry if you've had a previous loss or you've known somebody with a previous loss, and I really hope that this is at least a little bit helpful. I absolutely love you guys, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching.